So, Carly, you were talking to me the other day about some of the reservations that you have about trading S&P 500 options, the lack of flexibility, some of the other risks you had in mind.
Yeah, it just feels a little bit too risky for me as an individual investor.
100%. So, I've actually found a better way to do this. It's the XSP options from Cboe Global Markets. We actually got to go in person with one of their team members in Chicago and have a full interview all about the XSP options and how they work. And it was just a week after their 50th anniversary, so we got to hear about that too.
That's awesome. Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about the benefits?
So there's a lot of benefits, including the fact that they're less expensive to trade than regular S&P 500 options, in addition to there being extended flexibility in trading hours leading up to the end of the day and contra exercise, which we'll get into in full detail in the interview.
And what about this 50th anniversary? What made it so special?
So there were a lot of things that made the 50th anniversary so exciting. The way that they've grown over the last 50 years, all the team members that they've added, and how they've increased the size of the company, and all the new products that they've rolled out too, which we got to hear full detail on in the interview itself.
That's great. Well, let's get right into it.
Let's do it. Welcome, it's Michael Murray here with Benzinga, and I'm joined today by Andy Bevers, VP, Head of Derivatives Account Coverage at Cboe Global Markets. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Andy, always great to be with you here at the post office for Cboe Global Markets in Chicago. Just 1 week past Cboe Global Markets' 50th anniversary. Congratulations, first and foremost. We're going to talk about the 50th anniversary and how significant it is for Cboe. But we're also talking today about XSP options. There's a lot to dive into here. We want to give the retail market a better understanding of what exactly they are and what the advantages are that you get. So take us through broad level overview. What is an XSP option?
Sure. So obviously, Cboe has the exclusive licensing agreement with S&P to list all the proprietary index products. So we've got a full suite of proprietary products around the S&P suite. SPX, obviously our standard S&P 500 cash settled index option contract. Take a step down, creating a more bespoke contract that may be of interest to the retail community. XSP, which is 1/10 the size of SPX, so effectively a direct competitor to SPY options. So.
Fantastic. Now, let's talk about a couple of the advantages when it comes to being a competitor of the SPY. Take us through the time that you're able to trade it, the amount of time that you may not have with the SPY option, for example. What are some of the biggest benefits that you get with the XSP?
Sure. I'll touch upon your initial point. SPY options are only available during the regular trading hours. XSP options, similar to SPX and VIX, trade during global trading hours. So that's a relatively new occurrence. We just added them the tail end of last year. So regular trading hours, we'll talk Central Time. They trade from 8:30 until 3:15 is regular trading hours, the core session. At that point, we have a curb session, which is new as of last year, from 3:15 until 4 p.m. Central Time. That just aligns well with CME and the S&P options that they have, the curb session that's available there. And then really where we offer much of the differentiation with respect to European and Asian clients and the demand that we're seeing there, we do have a global trading hour session that runs from 7:15 p.m. all the way through until 8:15 a.m. We take a 15-minute pause and then start the regular trading hour session, the core session.
Fantastic. So talk to us about cash settlement versus physical shares. What exactly does that mean, and how does that give you another advantage here?
Sure. So definitely a differentiating factor for XSP. So with SPY options, if you're assigned, you take physical delivery of SPY shares, the underlying, and you've obviously got market risk there that you need to contend with, right? Versus XSP, which is settled to the closing cash settlement price at expiration and the differential of the cash settlement price versus the strike.
Fantastic. Now, if we're going to talk about the European versus the American style, which is one of the points we were really interested to dig into, what are you getting here when it comes to the American and the European style on both sides?
Sure. So from that perspective, an American style settled contract, SPY, can be exercised at any given time over the life of that option contract, right? So SPX, XSP, our S&P Nanos product, all settle European style, meaning that you can only exercise on the date of expiration. So offers a little bit more certainty with respect to exercise and assignment considerations.
Wonderful. Let's talk tax implications for a moment. What are the potential tax advantages that you might get when it comes to the XSP?
Sure. So the entire SPX suite that we offer does have the ability to take advantage of 1256 tax treatment, meaning 60/40 60% of the gains are taxed long-term, 40% short-term. So definitely a differentiating factor with respect to that. SPY is taxed at the ordinary income rate, so taxes ordinary income.
Excellent. Now, you also mentioned really briefly the no risk of contra exercise here. What exactly does that mean, and how does that give you an advantage as a trader?
Yep. So the OCC exercise window is available all the way until 5 o'clock Central Time, right? So there are definitely some considerations around being exercised and kind of the definitiveness that you get with respect to the whole exercise process.
Terrific. Now, a final question about XSP before we start talking about this 50th anniversary here. As a retail trader specifically, what situation might you find yourself in as a trader where you want to use XSP? And more importantly, how do you get access to the XSP? How do you purchase one? How do you interact with Cboe Global Markets when it comes to using the XSP itself?
Yep. So XSP is available fully electronic. Again, it is available during our global trading hours. As far as some of the benefits, we can talk about the margin offsets that we've just filed for. So as of March 2nd, we did get SEC approval for an initiative known as protected options, whereby we will look to have the margin offset between the underlying ETF and cash settled index options recognized by the industry. So there are definitely some considerations to account for there. Think XSP versus the underlying SPY, or RUT versus IWM. So there are definitely some interesting considerations from that perspective.
Absolutely. And is there anything else coming up about XSP that we should have our eyes open for, or anything else we should be paying attention to, or anything that you're excited about when it comes to XSP?
Yeah, so we've, I would say notably, we do have, as with all of our proprietary products, especially overnight, we'll always have committed lead market makers, committed quoters, just to ensure that we have good liquidity on the screen, good tight markets. So we definitely have strategic partners that we align ourselves with from that perspective. And also we do have a new market maker that just committed to quoting during the regular trading hours session last week. So we've definitely seen the spreads come in a little bit, especially around the near term at the money strikes. We're typically seeing spreads 2 to 3 cents wide there versus SPY, which is 1 to 2 cents wide. So we feel like we're in a pretty good spot from the perspective of being competitive with respect to quotes and liquidity.
Amazing. Andy, we always love learning more about Cboe products. Let's pivot gears here just a little bit and talk about the 50th anniversary just last week for Cboe Global Markets. Take us through some of the highlights over the last 50 years. Why is this such a significant milestone? What are some of the things that you guys are proudest of over the last 50 years?
Yeah, I think it's important to reflect back upon the history of the exchange, right? We opened as an exchange on April 26, 1973. At that point, we listed options on 16 stocks. The day that we opened, we executed 911 contracts, right? Juxtapose that with what the current situation is, right? Cboe on any given day has average daily trading volume in the ballpark of 9.3 million contracts. So a lot of growth and expansion across the entire industry, and we were certainly an innovator in the space, and we continue to strive to be that.
It's an incredible level of growth over the last 50 years. Like you said, since 1973, just the number of things you guys have added to your capacity and your abilities. Can you maybe give us just a brief measure of how far and how wide Cboe's reach has grown over the last 50 years? How big of a presence are you guys worldwide, if you can put that in layman's terms?
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? I think when we entered into, or when we were dealing with the 50th anniversary, I should say, the marketing team went through a complete rebranding effort of our logo, new firm organizational slogan, the Cboe Global Markets, the exchange for the world stage, which really does highlight the breadth of the organization at this point. We certainly cut our teeth in the listed option space, being an innovator there, but we've really expanded our growth across regions, jurisdictions, and asset classes, right? So we trade, obviously, derivatives, options, and futures, equities, FX, crypto assets, digital assets. We transact in 26 26 different markets across North America, APAC, and Europe, right? So definitely we've taken the approach that we're pretty steadfast in not referring to ourselves as Cboe any longer, because we're so much more than that. So we feel that Cboe Global Markets really speaks to the breadth of the asset classes that we transact in and the global reach that we have.
Absolutely. 50 years back, of course, but 50 years into the future too. Where do you see Cboe Global Markets going in the next few years? 5 years, 10 years? Give us just a bit of a scope into the long-term vision for how big you think you can grow this and what's next for the firm.
Sure. So, I think that moving forward, we'll continue to be an innovator and a leader in the space, and we'll continue to push the industry forward. I think if you take a look at the growth that we've seen over the course of the past couple of years, the adoption of retail and the growth within that client segment, sky's the limit, right? So I think from our perspective, it's important that we're always receptive to our clients, which I think we always are, and we always innovate with the customer being top of mind and in the spirit of partnership. And that collaborative spirit's served us pretty well, and I think it'll continue to serve us well in the future as our products and the asset classes that we are engaged with continue to evolve and expand.
No doubt of that. Well, we're certainly always thrilled to be able to partner with Cboe and bring everything that you're doing with XSP options and everything else on the table to the retail investor market, specifically in our audience. Andy Bevers, VP, Head of Derivatives Account Coverage. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Happy to be here.